You have felt all 7 of them today. Maybe you scrolled past someone's vacation photos and felt a small twist in your chest. Maybe you skipped the gym and told yourself you'd go tomorrow. Maybe you snapped at someone you love over something that, an hour later, didn't even matter. You call these small failures. The church called them sins. But the real answer is far stranger than either of those. These 7 feelings were never moral failures at all. They were survival tools. Ancient ones. Built into you long before anyone wrote a single word about heaven or hell. Here is where the story actually begins. In the 4th century, a monk named Evagrius Ponticus lived alone in the Egyptian desert. He was trying to achieve total stillness of mind. Instead, he noticed something else. His thoughts kept returning to the same 8 patterns, over and over, no matter how hard he prayed them away. He called them the 8 evil thoughts. Gluttony, lust, greed, sadness, wrath, sloth, vainglory, pride. 200 years later, Pope Gregory I combined a few of them and trimmed the list to 7. That list became the 7 deadly sins you know today. For over 1,000 years, people believed these were spiritual defects. Cracks in the soul that needed to be prayed away. But Evagrius was not describing spiritual defects. He was describing something closer to a user's manual. And he didn't know it yet. Because here is the twist almost nobody talks about. Every single one of the 7 deadly sins maps almost perfectly onto a survival behavior your ancestors needed to stay alive. Take gluttony. In a monastery, eating too much looked like weakness. But for nearly all of human history, food was never guaranteed. The evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse has spent decades studying why the body still behaves like famine could hit at any moment. Your brain rewards calorie-dense food with a hit of dopamine so strong it overrides logic, because for 100,000 years, the humans who ate everything available when it was available were the ones who survived the next drought. You are not weak for wanting the second slice. You are running code that once kept your entire bloodline from starving. Now take envy. It feels small and shameful. But look closer at what it's actually doing. Envy is a measuring tool. The evolutionary psychologist David Buss has argued that envy evolved specifically to track your position relative to others in the group, because in small ancestral tribes, resources were limited and rank mattered enormously. If someone else had more food, more status, or more mates, that wasn't just annoying. It was a direct threat to your own survival odds. Envy forced you to notice the gap and do something about it. The feeling wasn't cruelty. It was an alarm. Wrath works almost the same way, just louder. Anger is expensive. It burns energy, it risks conflict, it can get you killed. So why would evolution keep it around? Because for most of human history, a group with no one willing to get angry on its behalf was a group that got exploited, robbed, or wiped out. Wrath was the emotion that said, this line has been crossed, and someone needs to defend it. You still feel it today when someone cuts you off in traffic, even though nothing about your survival is actually at stake. The alarm is ancient. The trigger just got noisier. Then there's sloth. You feel guilty for resting. But rest was never laziness to your ancestors. It was strategy. The human body is an extraordinarily expensive machine to run. The brain alone burns roughly 20% of your daily energy despite being a fraction of your body weight. Every unnecessary movement in a world without supermarkets or refrigeration was a calorie you might not get back. So your body developed a powerful pull toward conserving energy whenever it could. That pull didn't disappear just because you now have a couch and a refrigerator. It just lost its original context. Greed follows the same ancient logic, dialed up. In an unpredictable environment, having a small buffer of extra resources was an excess. It was insurance against the next famine, the next harsh winter, the next injury that kept you from hunting. The people who hoarded a little more than they needed were, statistically, the ones whose children survived to have children of their own. Greed is what happens when that same instinct meets a modern world with no natural ceiling on how much you can accumulate. Lust needs almost no explanation, And yet it might be the most misunderstood of all 7. It isn't a flaw in your character. It's the single most direct evolutionary pressure that exists. Every one of your ancestors, without a single exception, succeeded at passing on that drive. You are, quite literally, descended from an unbroken line of individuals who felt it and acted on it. And then there's pride. The first sin on Evagrius's list, and arguably the deepest one. Pride looks like arrogance. But the moral psychologist Jonathan Haidt has pointed out that pride most likely evolved as a signal, both to yourself and to others, that you had earned status within the group. In small tribal societies, status wasn't vanity. It determined who got fed first during scarcity, who got chosen as a mate, and whose opinion carried weight when the group made decisions that meant the difference between life and death. Pride was the internal readout of your own value to the tribe. So here is the counterintuitive part. None of these 7 feelings were ever designed to destroy you. They were designed to keep you and your ancestors alive long enough to pass those same feelings down to you. The problem was never the emotions themselves. The problem is the world changed size and speed far faster than your brain did. Your ancestors lived in groups of maybe 50 to 150 people. Every face they envied, every person who made them angry, every scarce resource they hoarded, existed within arm's reach. Now envy has to process 1,000 curated photos a day from people you'll never meet. Wrath gets triggered by strangers online who can't actually threaten you. Gluttony faces a food system engineered specifically to exploit that ancient reward circuit. The wiring is exactly the same. The scale around it is not. That's the modern mirror we're sitting with. Every time you feel that twist of envy scrolling through your phone, you're not broken. You're using a 100,000-year-old tool on a problem it was never built to solve. Every time you feel too tired to do the thing on your list, some ancient part of you is still quietly guarding calories against a famine that stopped being a threat generations ago. That doesn't mean these feelings should run unchecked. It means they deserve to be understood before they're judged. Because the 7 deadly sins were never really about morality at all. They were survival instructions, written in flesh and instinct long before anyone thought to write them down as sin. Somewhere between the Egyptian desert and your phone screen, the instructions stayed exactly the same. Only the world around them changed completely. You still feel all 7 of them today. Not because something is wrong with you. Because something, a very long time ago, went exactly right.